repressed and impulsive. And I think those gun locks would be just that 30 seconds that it takes to unlock the gun can bring somebody to their senses.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends, and if they, if, you know, I could share you, share with you, I've unfortunately in my career as a law enforcement officer, I've personally known several people who have committed suicide, and pretty much all of them have done it by firearm, and I can tell you that I never saw it coming. Never saw it coming. Now, granted, they were in the law enforcement field with me, so I think, law enforcement officers were probably, we may not talk about everything at work, which is, just, and keep things inside. Well, I mean, we're not different than anybody else. A lot of people do that. But never saw it coming. So I would say that, that just kind of goes along with, and recently, Chicago's had recent officers commit suicide by firearm. Something that I'm big on is officer wellness and peer support within our organization. And you know what, that goes to just social work. In general, with the general population, officers need an outlet too. And we need to have a support mechanism, just like everybody else. We're all human. And I think that that's, it's an important topic. I think you bring up a good point. But as the one slide showed, most suicide attempts are by drugs, and most successful suicides are by firearm. And it just kind of makes sense that, it's very unlikely you're going to survive a gunshot wound. Yes, ma'am.
Is mental health part of your health care package, that you do have those services available?
For officers?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I just sent 2 officers to they're certified peer support officers now. So we had not had a peer support program within the police department, a formal peer support program. Still evolving. I have to do a policy on it. There's some recent legislation that passed in Illinois protecting law enforcement officers that need help, mental health help. So, because frankly, if you check yourself into a mental health facility and it's reported to the Illinois State Police, you lose your FOID card. If you lose your FOID card, you cannot be a police officer.
Right.
So, because you can't possess a firearm.
Right.
So, those are things that we have in place to get mechanisms to where officers can get help, where they don't lose their FOID card, they don't lose their privileges, and we're trying to get them help ahead of time. So that's why I actually just sent 2 officers. They completed the school a little over a week ago. And it's a very robust program in Chicago. ATF has it. A lot of suburban police departments have it now. Peer support it's very effective. And the 2 officers that were chosen within the department, one's a young officer and one's a senior officer. And one's male, one's female. So it's important to kind of, because the big thing for me is to make sure that officers are comfortable with those particular officers and that they feel comfortable reaching out to them. And if they reach out to them, I don't want to know about it. This is a support mechanism for them. So
That's brilliant. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
So any other questions? I'm sure somebody has something. Sure.
How do you feel about the utility of non-lethal weapons, like such as tasers and pepper sprays?
I think they're very effective. Pepper spray, not a huge fan of, and I can only tell you from personal experience that
Downwind.
every time when I was a law enforcement officer, before we had tasers, every time I got sprayed. Tried to spray the offender, I got sprayed. It was just not, I'm just a little biased, but tasers are very effective if they're used properly. Yes, are there inherent risks with using tasers? Absolutely, but it's a good tool. It does save lives. I can tell you firsthand, coming from where I came from. There were instances when an officer would have legally been justified to use a firearm to stop somebody, and they used the taser, and they saved that life because they didn't have to use a firearm. So it is an effective tool. It's a tool. So I always say when an officer uses, if we have an officer that uses a taser, you want to, anytime you deploy less than lethal, you have to have that backup of lethal there just in case, because the taser doesn't always work.
What does a taser actually do?
So it's a conductive electricity device that basically what happens is there's a cartridge on the taser. When the officer pulls the trigger just like they would pull a trigger on a gun, there's 2 probes that come out, shoot out, and they attach to the body. They actually go into the body, and they give it's an electrical charge that incapacitates the person. And, you know, they're obviously, in time, they learn more about it. You know, there's recommendations where you don't wanna make sure you don't wanna, it's not recommended that the probes cross the heart, because that can have a much, it won't affect everybody, but obviously if somebody's at high risk, it could have an impact. Does that mean that if the officer does deploy it, if the person's fighting, or they have a knife, that they can't do that? I mean, they try, but it beats shooting them, and it also, you know, you don't want to see the officer get hurt also. So, it's, like I said, it's a tool. I mean, incidents that involve officer use of force are very dynamic, they happen very quickly, and I know that the officers try very hard to make sure that they minimize whatever force that they have to use. But it's a hot topic today, very hot topic, officer use of force. We want to make sure our officers use justifiable use of force, and that they're doing the best they can to make sure they minimize injury to the person that they're using force against, and that the officers don't get hurt, and also innocent people don't get hurt. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And also, I didn't want to abuse, because he promised us an hour and already gave us an hour and a half. So I don't want to do that. I did want to mention to everybody, and thanks to Leah Brennan and her husband Pat, they filmed tonight. So one of the things that I would be really thrilled, or afterwards, I'll send you the link, we'll have it up on YouTube as soon as we can, we'll try to get it on the Lincolnwood Together page. But wasn't it just wonderful? I learned so much, Chief, and I thought I knew a lot when I came from those kids, you know. So
if anybody has any questions, because, you know, sometimes we think about things after, just send me an email, I'll be more than happy to address any questions. I don't have my card, I don't have enough cards, but I do have a few, I have a couple.
It's on the village website.
I am on the village website.
and we'll send it. I'll send it. If it's okay. If I get permission, I'll send it to you. That will be
Yeah,
fine.
you can do it. Here's my card, and then put an email and address, that's fine.
Okay, cool. Will do. Thank you all very much for being here. Thank you to Lincolnwood Together, all the members. I don't want to name everybody because you'll be here another half hour. But we're doing great stuff. We're having a wonderful time in Lincolnwood, putting things together. We've got fabulous collaborations with the library, with a lot of different activities. I hope one day we'll be able to have the chief again in a year or so and get more people to come. But please join us. And I'll send you an email of when our next meeting is, because I never remember. And when you mentioned the trustee came in, I want to acknowledge the trustee Patel is here, and from the township, trustee Agnes Santi. I just call her Bonnie. And also trustee Gelfand is over there in the back. Did I miss anybody? Oh, the clerk is here, thank you, and Merle, our trustee, trusted village clerk is here. We really want to encourage everybody to get registered to vote, to participate in the voting. We're going to be doing our vote, get out the vote activities, and I hope that you will too. Thank you, Ray?
One other thing, Lincolnwood Multicultural Task Force is having a couple programs coming up very shortly where very powerful storytellers are going to be telling stories relating to their faith and their relationship with others and so on. And I think it would be a great program for many Lincolnwood people to participate.
How do we find out about that?
There will be advertising coming out, hopefully sooner rather than later. The first one will be in November, and then we have one scheduled, I believe, for either January or February. So we'll get something out.
What about the
Keep your
website?
eyes open.
And Nextdoor and email and all the things. If you have neighbors and you get that thing on Nextdoor where you can send them postcards so that they come in to to Nextdoor, use them. And then they sign up, and then we have more ways of communicating with each other. And just as an aside, Juan Bravo is also here from NB Bank. They're here in Lincolnwood, and their support of our group and everything in Lincolnwood. Juan, thank you. All right, everybody, thank you so much for being here. We'll see you.